The Hellbound faction has a group of creatures called Imps. When one of these Imps is summoned onto your train, it provides an immediate benefit. This benefit ranges from dealing damage to all enemies on the floor, gaining extra ember, or even regaining consumed cards. However, this benefit only triggers once as the Imp is summoned, so an Imp that sticks around after that immediate benefit is just wasting precious train capacity on a low damage, low health creature. Making an Imp endless solves this problem. Hello, I'm Dan, and today I'm laying out a monster train synergy that will help you in the early game when playing the Hellbound or have the Hellbound as your ally. So sit back, relax, hit that like button, and let's get deck building. There are several ways to give units the Endless property, but the most consistent is to buy the Eternal Stone at the Merchant of Steel for 95 gold and put it on the unit you want to become Endless. A unit with the Endless property is returned to the top of your draw pile when it dies. That means whenever a creature with Endless dies, you will draw it on your very next turn. Giving this upgrade to an Imp basically converts it from a summonable monster to a spell you can use every turn that also blocks a single attack. Let me explain the strategy. First, you must draw the Imp from your deck, then summon it in front of any allied units on that train floor. The summon effect goes off, and any enemies that are still alive after the summon effect goes off will kill the Imp on their turn due to it having a measly 1 HP. Then, when your next turn starts, you draw the Imp again due to it having the Endless upgrade and play it again. This repeats until the end of the battle or the Imp stops dying. As long as the Imp dies every turn, you can use it again to gain the benefit of its summon ability. If there are no enemies on the floor you summon it to, feel free to hit it with a fireball or other targeted spell to kill it yourself and have it keep coming back. While this is a neat little strategy, you have to think about which Imp you want to make endless and why that actually benefits your deck in particular. Currently, at the time of recording, there are 6 Imps in the game, and each has a unique reason to be made endless, so let's go through them. The Fledgling Imp, which applies 3 rage to all friendly units on the floor it is summoned to, is good to make endless if you have multi-strike units that would be on the same floor as it. Rage stacks deal extra damage per attack, so the more attacks a unit has, the more powerful rage is for that unit. In addition, if you have the Artifacts Collection of Tails or Resonant Shard, both of which boost the power of Rage, then an Endless Imp might be right for your deck. The Molting Imp, which deals 5 damage to all enemy units on the floor it is summoned to, is good to make endless if you do not have a lot of multiple target damage spells like Vent or Glimmer. This Imp can help deal with the support units hidden in the back line or grab the money bags hidden behind one too many units. The Impish Scholar, which returns a random consumed spell to your hand, is good to make endless if you have a few consumable cards that have a high impact on your deck's power level. Being able to continuously add multi-strike to a monster with one Horn's Tome is a very tempting offer. On the other hand, Consume can be negated by an Eternal Stone upgrade from the Merchant of Magic for only 85 gold. So if you only have one card that needs its Consume removed, the Eternal Stone upgrade might be the better choice and even cheaper. Look at your deck, your Ember per turn, and how many consumable cards you really want to keep around before making an Endless Imp Scholar. The Welder Helper, which applies 15 armor to the front friendly unit, is the Imp, in my opinion, you should be least likely to make endless, simply because it does not synergize well with the endless upgrade. If you put the Welder Helper in front when summoned, as you would for all these other Imps, it will apply 15 armor to itself, thus tanking a few hits instead of dying on the first one. This can be beneficial situationally, such as needing to tank a few hits for a backline low health damage dealer, but more often than not, the Welder Helper gets stuck there for a few turns. Placing this Imp in the back, allowing it to buff the frontline units, then killing it with a spell does get around this problem. However, that means it basically has double the Ember cost due to the Ember cost of the kill spell. If you have spells like Reinforce and Battering Ram in your deck that make armor more beneficial, while also having a high Ember capacity, an Endless Welder could have benefit. Most of the time though, it's a waste of an upgrade. Now we get to the 2 Imps I believe to be the most beneficial to make endless. First, the Pyre Chomper, the one Imp I am most likely to upgrade to endless, simply because its summon ability, Gain 4 Ember, can solve an Ember shortage for your entire run. Even with the basic 3 Ember, if you can play this Imp every single turn, you're going to start with 6 Ember every single turn. It would take 3 Ember upgrades to do that normally. This Imp is incredibly well suited to give you a bunch of Ember, then immediately die to do it again. I highly recommend making this one endless. The final Imp, Transcend Imp, which when summoned repeats all summon effects triggered so far this battle, can be an absolute powerhouse, but only if you have the correct setup. This Imp piggybacks off the summon effects of other Imps. which means you have to play other imps before it becomes a viable card. If one of the imps you summon is the Welder Helper, this imp inherits the same problems the Welder Helper has, mainly sticking around much longer than you would like an endless imp to stick around for. All that aside, if you can play one of each imp, perhaps besides the Welder Helper, this imp, if it's endless, every single turn can give you 4 Ember, 3 Rage to all units on its floor, kill the backline enemy support units, and bring back one of your powerful consumed cards. And if it dies, when you summon it, it will do all of that again. This imp is incredibly powerful, but needs a lot of thought and deck setup to be of use. Upgrade to endless carefully. So that's all the imps and when and why to make each one endless, but we are not done, for card combos can be made to make these endless imps even better. Let's get into a few. Imp in a Box, a consumed card that adds 2 random imps to your hand for 0 Ember cost, pairs well with either an endless Impish Scholar or an endless Transcend Imp. With an endless Impish Scholar, you can cover the board in imps, making it much easier to summon a Consumer of Crowns if you have one. For Transcend Imp, it short-circuits a bit of the setup time for Transcend Imp to work, but it's a bit random, so you may not always get the results you want. Important Work, which sacrifices an imp in your train to gain 2 Ember and draw 1 card, is basically a free way to play an endless imp twice in 1 turn. First, play the endless imp. Then, use Important Work on it. This removes the imp from your train and places it at the top of your draw pile. The effect of Important Work then triggers, causing you to gain 2 Ember and draw the endless imp back into your hand. With the 2 extra Ember, you can now summon said endless imp back into your train. If you have the 85 gold to upgrade Important Work with a Keepstone at the Merchant of Magic, thus granting it holdover, every turn you will have 2 extra Ember and get to reposition your endless imp. Only do this if you're seeing a lot of benefit from that imp though, since this, plus the Eternal Stone to make the imp endless in the first place, is starting to get pretty expensive. Impolate, a spell that deals damage equal to 15 times the number of imps you have in your deck, is a rather straightforward combo. More imps means more damage from this card, and you'll need at least 1 endless imp in your deck, so this will at least do 15 damage. Impressive, a spell that lets you sacrifice an imp to do 50 damage to the frontline enemy, helps you remove an endless imp that is not going to die this turn, therefore won't be summonable next turn, while also doing a nice chunk of damage to the enemy. Since this spell does not care how much armor or health an imp has, it could be used to kill imps that have gotten accidentally buffed with armor or extra health in some way. If you are really doubling down on imps, Consumer of Crowns is a card you need in your deck. It is difficult to summon due to its high Ember cost, which is only reduced if imps are on the field, but it is very strong. Having an endless imp means you can always count on Consumer only costing 7 Ember to summon. However, that is still very high, so more imps are more likely needed, or you need an endless Pyre Chomper to boost your Ember enough to play Consumer with just 1 imp on the field. If you can play this card reliably, purchasing a Frenzy Stone for 100 gold from the Merchant of Steel to give Consumer of Crowns multi-strike means that it is going to hit even harder. That way, it will be doing 200 damage each turn, clearing almost any non-boss enemy from sight in 1 turn. Those are some of the synergies and combos that work well with these endless imps. Undoubtedly, there are more I've forgotten about, so feel free to put them in the comments below. A few words of caution on these endless imps. They alone cannot win you a run. They are, however, a great early to mid-game use of upgrade slots and can keep you going during some of the harder early trials. Also, do not force them into your deck. An imp or 2 usually doesn't hurt most decks, but you need to keep in mind your train capacity and how much room you have for these units. An endless imp is of no use if you have nowhere to place it, so keep that in mind no matter how badly you want to use these endless imps. If you have made it this far into the video, I assume you like this content. If so, please like the video and subscribe to see more Monster Train guides. These are the 2 best ways to support the channel, and liking the video lets YouTube know it should be recommended to more people. Have a good rest of your day, and good luck deck building.